All right, so kind of gonna put you on the spot a little bit. Let's just say because Crawford is always like I know at one point Crawford always prided himself and said like, "Yo, I never ducked any of my mandatories. Always fought like the best available guys and whatever." And, people are kind of saying that he's ducking, whatever, whatever, right? Like, let's just say the IBF went to him and say, "Look, we'll give you the next title shot, or we'll give you the belt back. You'll be undisputed again, but you just got to fight Boots. You just got to fight Boots after you're done with Spence. Cool. Let's say he agrees to that. Who would you have actually given the edge to, man?
Man, to me, Crawford is an all-time great.
Mhm.
He's the number one pound for pound fighter in the world. I've been saying that for a long time. And Boots is the most talented and dynamic young fighter that I've ever seen, like up live and personal, be able to come in contact with. You
Ever?
know, um, I got I got to watch Roy Jones and Ray Leonard and stuff. I'm talking about one that I've encountered, like been around, that I've seen personally in the
Could
gym.
you could
Um,
you like just for like people out there, could you just like maybe like rattle off a few people that you've been around just to like give it that context?
um,
Damn, he's better than this
I've
guy. Or...
been. I don't want to call out specific names
Mhm.
because I don't. It's just not fair. But I've been around my share of great fighters,
Got it.
and I've seen a lot of great fighters in the gym. And I'm saying in the gym because obviously you got to prove it. It's not an insult because I believe that he will prove it one day, but you still have to do it. So I don't want to make this statement out of context. So I'm saying in the gym for the level he's at, I've never seen a fighter that talented before. Some of the stuff that he could do, some of the stuff um, that he's just capable of. He very rarely has a bad day in the gym. Believe it or not, guys, sometimes nondescript fighters get the better of named fighters more often than you guys believe it or could ever imagine it. And I've been around Boots for about 10 years now in the gym. I first started hiring him in camps around 2014. And I'm not saying I never seen anybody get the better of him, but I've never seen anybody get the better of him two times in a row. I've
Mm.
never seen him have a bad, what you call a bad day. And you got to remember, he's only 26. So if I've been hiring him since he was 14, since 2014, he was about 16, 17 years old. And and he's just he's the best fighter I've ever seen in the gym. Just everybody's trying to get it off. He's the most consistently dynamic guy I've ever seen in my life. I go to his dad's gym, and sometimes I bring my guys up there to spar. He can spar 12 rounds with 3, 4 different people. Then he'll be like, "Yo, man, give me some pad work." We'll be on a pass for like a half an hour. The kid just don't get tired. He just like love boxing. He's not a street kid. If there's any kid that I've seen that like, I don't know what it's like to watch Ray Leonard and Roy Jones in the gym. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what it's like to watch Pernell Whitaker in the gym. I wasn't old enough to be in the gyms with those kind of guys. But I know what it's like to see Jaron Ennis in the gym, man. And he's the best I've ever seen. So, you got one guy who got the accomplishments and the status, and then you got one guy who we looking at on potential and Ennis. And I can't call the fight right now, but I've always thought that he would be right there with with Crawford and Spence. And I also felt that he's a little bigger than they are. He's a little more athletic. And he's younger, a lot younger, by the way. So it would be a matter of is he poised and composed enough to not fall into any traps? Because Crawford is a master at setting traps and hitting you with shots that you don't see. And I don't know if Boots could deal with that. We got to see. I suspect that, he's on the level, but Crawford has already proven that level. So I know people might call me crazy and like, no way he hasn't done enough. But I think it's like a fight of the matter who's having the best day. Have a lot to do. He's probably looking at a mirror image of himself, but a couple inches taller, a little bit more naturally bigger, and probably a little bit quicker. So it will be a tough fight for both of them. Both guys will have a really, really tough fight on their hands. I don't know who will win. I would love to see it. The two of my favorite fighters to watch. I have no idea right now. I have to like study a lot of video because what Crawford did against Spence. I know people saying Spence was compromised, but that was like a perfect performance in a super fight. So whether Spence was compromised or not, Crawford stepped his game up to a level of like, wow, does anybody believe what we just watched? you know. But what's crazy is I watch Boots do that in the gym like every time I go up his dad's gym. I'm not even exaggerating. I watch him be that on like every time I go up there. I'll be like, God damn, did this kid ever have a bad day? Like I watch him do that all the time, left-handed, right-handed. I'm talking about, and he don't be sparring tomato cans. These be some good guys. 4-minute rounds, 60 pounders, 68 pounders, Olympians, ex world champions, contenders. These be some good guys, and he just be boxing everybody, you know. And like, I'm not saying he don't get touched, everybody get hit, you know what I mean? But he just like every day super sharp, super powerful, IQ, having fun in the ring. He's just a hell of a fighter. I think they both would, you know, they would have a lot of things to overcome with each other. Boots gonna have to lock in. Sometimes he gets a little bit crazy and starts throwing some big shots and stuff. Don't always be tight, So he'll like load up every once in a while. And he missed a couple of punches against the Karen guy, and he spent the round. I
Mhm.
actually told him like, yo, man, and you too good of a fighter to be doing that, So, but he can't, he's a vicious kid, so he wants to hurt you and he wants to put on a show. So sometimes in the heat of the moment, it's easy for people on the outside to nitpick it, but as adrenaline pumping and stuff like that, that stuff can happen. But against Crawford, gotta be careful because Crawford is, he's precise and he's a surgeon and he'll bait you into a mistake and knock your head off. So that's where Boots' issue with Crawford would be, getting clipped with something that he don't see and um in haste. You know what I mean? Boots is gonna have to be mature if he fight Terence. Terence is very mature in the ring. He's a really patient fighter. He waits on mistakes and he'll make you pay for him. But then again, Crawford gonna have to deal with a monster jab, a monster reach, somebody that's switching just like him, just as even-handed as him. Super power, super speed, crazy reflexes. Again, a little taller, a little longer than him, with really good amateur pedigree also. It'd just be a hell of a thing for both of them. If Crawford was to take that fight, man, I would tip my hat on him, tip my hat for him, because not a lot of 36-year-olds would take a kid like Boots. I'm just telling you, in history, you just don't see that. You know what I mean? Dealing with a young kid like that. Again, guys usually fight guys in their own age genre. And I understand why, because the wear and tear is different. Once so you kind of want people in your own age genre. And it'll be a hell of a fight, man. Just thinking about it, it's like two mirror images of each other. It will be fascinating. I don't really go to much fights these days, but I will go to that fight just to witness it and see it.
Yeah, and I'll be right next to you. I'll tell you that. I'll be sitting right next to you if that fight was to ever happen. I know you said you can't really call it, but I feel like I kind of have to ask you to just like lean towards somebody only from the standpoint of Crawford he just turned 36 in September. And he's 10 years older than Boots. And he already said that, look, I'm about to retire and I just want like the big fights, like Canelo, probably like a Gervonta Davis or something like that, and whatever. So it just feels really unlikely that he'll ever fight Boots unless Boots does something extraordinary that made Crawford say, all right, I gotta fight this guy. So since we probably won't get it, like if it was to happen, is there anybody you would lean towards? Do you think the all-time great would be a little too much? Or do you think like Boots, he's the best, man. He'll I'll have to lean towards him.
You know what, man? I'm gonna tell you something. You're not gonna like this answer. I'm being as honest as I can.
Okay.
I don't think they ever gonna fight.
Yep.
I know the business of boxing. I don't know everything, but I do know the business of boxing, and I just see how long everything takes in this era. And listening to Terence, I could just tell that there's a certain type of fight that he wants, and I'm not mad at him for that because he went through a lot of stuff just to get to this point. So I don't think that they're gonna fight. I think that everybody's getting all excited over nothing. It just this is not the era for that.
Yep.
And and um and because I don't think they're gonna fight, and I'm friends with both camps, it's not even really worth making a prediction of a fight that I know not that I don't. I strongly believe that it's not gonna happen. I don't like to be a killjoy. Like I can remember guys in the city like, Boots about to fight this guy, Boots about to fight that guy, and I would just say under my breath like, they not fighting him, man. I'll know a couple of the guys' managers that they'll be naming, and then Jim's like, man, Boots gonna fight him, and I'm like, they managers, haven't made millions of dollars in this game and got this far in the business to feed their kid to a young freaking switch hitter with power in both hands and reach flexes like Roy Jones. Who the hell gonna fight him? For what are you talking about? So I would just keep my mouth shut and be like, man, that kid not getting that fight. You heard every notable welterweight of the last 10 years. Thurman, Pacquiao, and Porter, and Guerrero, and this guy and that guy, and Ugas, and I'm like, he's not getting them fights right now, man. Y'all crazy. And I would just say it to myself. I wouldn't say it to nobody out loud because I'm not that type of person. I don't want to be the cynic and kill people's dreams. So I just be like, he's not getting those fights. Nobody's gonna fight him right now. You know what I mean? It's just not worth it to him to lose and get embarrassed. And
Well, well,
and
Boots did say recently, like a few days ago on, why some sports media, my guy Jalil. He was telling him that, they're throwing around Mario Barrios. Like, is Barrios the kind of guy where you're just like, because I know you're gonna
that's not
the Boots, but do
that's
you
a
think he could push?
Mario Barrios is a excellent young fighter, and he's made a solid career for himself. But that's not the kind of guy I was talking about. I was talking about an established A-side fighter that's been a world champion. Mario Barrios hasn't been a world champion, and he's lost coming in on the B side to Keith Thurman and Gervonta Davis. So it's a little easier to let a guy like Mario fight. He already has two losses. He's already lost a couple of times on the B side. So props to him and his team for taking that fight. But that's not the kind of guy I was talking about. I was talking about an A-lister, a big name, so Boots could kind of catapult himself. Um,
Is
if
is
if
Thurman
Mario was to fight Boots, I wouldn't. I'm friends with Mario's team too, but I wouldn't favor him to beat Boots. That's a tough style matchup for Mario, man,
is
and
is
just a tough
Thurman
style.
Is Thurman the type of guy? Because he is still an A-lister. He's still like his name
Yes,
brings a lot. Is
yes.
but but
He's the kind of guy I'm talking about.
but are you just looking at it from just his name standpoint? Like, do you think he still has those skills where it's just like he got the name and the skills to be like, all right,
Well,
this is
his
a real fight.
skills are always going to be up for debate because when a guy keeps taking off, you just never know what he's going to look like when he comes back. But
Yeah,
the last time he fought, he looked good. He beat Mario Barrios.
yeah.
So and he beat him up pretty bad actually. So if Mario Barrios can be a viable opponent coming off of the Ugas win, then certainly Keith Thurman can be a viable opponent because he beat Mario pretty handily. Like I was a little bit shocked that Thurman didn't show any signs of ring rust, and he beat Mario. So that's exactly the kind of name that I'm talking about. A guy like a Keith Thurman who's been on pay-per-view with a Manny Pacquiao who beat Danny Garcia and Sean Porter, who was the unified champion. That kind of guy right there is who I'm talking about as far as a catapult fight for Boots to get, to the next level.